So hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Homeroom Lending Podcast. Today, I am joined by my co-host, Kim Fontanez. She'll say it herself. And by Maya Shah. She's a real estate agent here in New York, coming from the UK, right?
Yep, originally from the UK.
Originally from the UK. And she's here with us today. We're going to ask her a few questions. So Maya, why don't you start with just telling us a little bit about yourself, how you got started in the business, what made you get into it, basically.
Sure. So originally from the UK, Birmingham, UK. I came here in 2018.
Okay.
So my background was that I ran a furniture and fashion apparel business out in the UK. So very much in the creative industry. I moved to New York for personal family reasons. So when I came here, obviously, I was kind of scoping what I was going to do. Property was something that I had in my background, property and law. So I guess it only made sense that, I would go into real estate. And I think the other thing that was so fascinating was that you only need a license to practice real estate, which is an anomaly because I suppose in Europe, you would need a minimum of sort of 3 to 5 years of practical experience on the field of real estate before you can become what we call an estate agent.
Wow. Big difference, yeah.
Yeah, so that would include, sort of material theory as well as practical.
Right.
Because as you know, within real estate, it is mostly all practical. You know,
Yes.
every transaction is different. And there's a lot to learn. There's so many elements, including the legislation and ethics. So I think for that reason, that's why the practical experience is required over there.
Right.
So when I came here, I was like, oh my God, I don't need that 5 years practical experience. I can just go study and get my license and start buying and selling.
Right.
However, I think I did kind of look at it from a perspective that I wanted the practical experience. And I guess having the 75-hour theory and learning the textbook wasn't enough for me.
Right.
So I took a different route or route.
Okay. Right, yeah.
Getting,
Either or.
Yeah.
Either, right?
Either or, yeah.
How do they say it in the UK?
Route.
Okay, roots.
Okay,
it.
so yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I took a different route in that I kind of started from scratch. I looked at it as a point of, if I'm opening up a restaurant and I have no restaurant, food or hospitality experience, how am I possibly going to go and open up a restaurant
Exactly.
and not do the background and the research?
Right.
And
I agree.
and real estate is no different. It didn't feel like it was enough for me. So for the past year, since I've been really kind of fully fledged into it, I have been learning the business as opposed to just working and doing transactions.
Trying to get a deal here and there and
Right.
bringing it.
Right. It isn't about that for
Right.
me.
Yeah.
It's about whatever career, whatever job I do, I want to perfect it. And I don't want to, I don't want to have to play guessing games, especially when we're working with consumers, homeowners. This is the biggest financial transaction of their life. There's ethics involved.
Exactly.
There's legislation involved. And it takes a lot to get it all right,
Sure
So
does.
I think coming in from a different sort of perspective, I took on the real estate industry with a different perspective.
Right.
So now that you've been doing this for a little bit, like what are some of the the rookie mistakes that you find that a lot of agents make, or kind of set them back in their journey to become a successful real estate agent?
Yeah, so I think there's two elements. I think there's one, capital, needing the capital to invest into real estate,
Right.
just like going back to when you're opening up your own business, whether it's an e-commerce website or a shop front or a physical store, you need capital. And it's the same for real estate. It's, you can, LIBOR dues and MLS fees and things like that are standard, but the capital towards marketing and running the business,
Right,
getting
yeah.
it from the ground up is very, very important. And I think a lot of real estate agents don't realize that they need that money. This is their business. And I think where that line is drawn is because we join a brokerage and we assume joining a brokerage, the brokerage is going to run our business or the brokerage is
Gonna
our
help you,
business.
right.
But it's not. We are independent contractors. And I think learning and understanding what an independent contractor, what a self-employed person, businessman is, as opposed to an employee is very important for people to understand.
The mindset,
Yes.
that
Yeah.
switch that has to take place.
Exactly.
Right, that switch has to take place. And I think because a lot of people are coming from part-time jobs or stay-at-home mums who don't maybe have a resume or a background in sales or running a business.
Right.
Or law. Those are the three major industries which can help you leverage real estate. If you don't have any of that experience and you're coming into real estate, you're coming in as a brand new business person, an entrepreneur,
Absolutely.
but you're not learning any of the aspects of business or even the legislation aspect of it. When regular working people don't know much about legislation, state or federal.
Right.
So I think the rookie mistakes are that once you've got your license, don't make the mistake of just coming into the brokerage and expecting to start physically and practically being a real estate agent.
Right.
Look into all the other elements of running your business and don't rely too much on brokerage or seasoned agents. Do your own research, learn, and then perfect it.
Right. Take it upon yourself. Don't let the brokerage do too much of the work, because then you never build up. You'll never get to where you want to be. I mean, in that sense, that's something that you really have. No matter what you do in life, I mean, you have to
Constantly.
You have to
learning.
grind it out. You have to learn whatever it is. But
Yes.
yeah, I see your approach. You're more like our approach with loans. You know, we do a lot of upfront work. You know, just making sure things are good before we even submit the loan.
Right.
Because you're right. Because just. You
the
want to
best
be
way all
100%. Yeah, you want to be 100% sure that it's going to work, and that you've done all the research, you prepare yourself, and then you're going in.
And that way you're taking care of the client the correct way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Knowing that, because that's obviously our goal, right? To make
100%,
sure they are taken care of. And I think that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you touched on that point of being dependent. And the other rookie mistake is that we do become sort of dependent on the brokerage, and we become dependent on, loan officers and attorneys and inspectors that, and that is their job. But, as a real estate agent who is representing a client, we're educating the client. We're there to, mentally and financially comfort the client. We need to know that knowledge. Yeah. We must have understanding of knowledge, not be dependent on everybody else and all the other elements and departments around us to do that job.
And there's always going to be questions along the way. You're always
right, you
it doesn't
everything.
matter how long you're doing it. There's always, questions.
Yeah.
But at least, with the knowledge, with your education that you're doing yourself, at least you'll know who to go to.
Yeah.
For that correct answer.
Yeah.
Because, you can go to 10 different people and get 10 different answers. It's so frustrating.
Which is another issue that I've come across.
Exactly.
That you can go to any sort of experienced, seasoned agent, and you can go to 10 of them. They're all going to give you a different answer.
Exactly.
And that's where the practical field comes in. Until you're out there on the field,
Right.
Learning different transactions, different styles of homes, and that's the only way you're going to make mistakes and learn from them.
Exactly.
But before taking on a transaction, I do think that, rookie mistakes are that agents are not putting in the effort to shadow before going by themselves and flying solo.
Right.
And I think that element also needs to come in from New York State too. Implement practical training, maybe.
Right.
The budget I feel that New York State put towards testers, maybe they can put budget towards agents having practical experience.
Exactly.
And that would actually work tenfold for both homeowners and realtors and everybody in the industry.
I agree.
You bring on new agents, they've got their license, you give them, an 8-week practical training course. Just imagine the turnaround of the production you can get from that.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So that might be something I might, reach out to NYSAR and,
I
get them
like
to
your
implement
approach. I like your approach. It's like, there's a saying, like the fastest way to get somewhere is the slowest way.
Yes.
Right. So
true.
Yeah.
it's so,
Right.
It really is true.
That's true.
But I like that approach.
Yeah.
I love that approach.
Now, and from being from the UK, I'm sure it's even tougher because you don't know the areas.
Right.
Real
estate, literally, you have to know the
exactly.
areas.
You need to know, which area
Learn 'em,
you're
but-
trying to, of course, like what's around each town. It's a lot to know.
That's a good point because I love geography, believe it or not, which was very lucky for me.
Good.
So when I first came here, I was here for 2 years, and not having a job and being a stay-at-home mom, I explored a lot And, you know, I think we've become spoiled with, you know, Google Maps and Waze. I really study maps a lot. So when I'm traveling somewhere, I don't just plug in the address.
Right.
I look at the route or route.
You're changing it.
I know. For the viewers at home, route. So I've really mastered the geography of Long Island and New York, and I feel like I probably know a little bit more than people who've lived here for a long time.
Right.
Yeah, I bet.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I was saying to Liz that people on the island don't seem to travel more than 10 minutes or 15 minutes from their town.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whereas for me, coming from Smithtown, going to Nassau is like, it's a lovely drive and
Exactly.
Right.
it's nothing
Yes.
to me.
No.
Yeah, that's me
You
too.
know.
I'll drive anywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So driving, maps, geography, I love it. And I've definitely mastered, you know, the geography of Long Island.
Right. That's
Cool.
good.
You know, and knowing the market too, knowing,
Right.
you know, knowing the areas and
Yes.
the regions and understanding property styles and price points. And, you know,
That's-
that's the fun part.
That is.
I love it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
And
good.
it's Women's History Month.
Yes.
And you know, I'm sure everybody's involved one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
What have you been doing? What's your involvement and what's your contribution to such a important month?
So my first contribution is that I am a woman.
Yes, there you go.
Cheers to that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sorry, Jamie.
Yeah.
Cheers
Sorry,
to
We have a
Jamie.
dedicated
I'm
month.
sorry. It's our month now. Okay.
Exactly.
Support.
Good. We have a supporter. Huge contribution. I mean, it's something that I can honestly say I would say from the age of 12, I've always had a really strong interest in the influence of women and always questioned and looked at women's role in the home, in the workplace, in culture, you know, and in communities. And I think there's a taboo to talk about women
Right.
and our role and the fact that we've been restricted and oppressed, and we still are. It's 2022, and anywhere I go, whether I'm in the UK, whether I'm in America, I still see women being in restricted environments,
Yeah.
being in restricted roles. And since I came into the real estate industry, it's something that I've really, really tried to kind of focus on as using my platform to help women realize that now's a time where you can still be cultural. You can still be a stay-at-home mom. You can still have all those sort of old school thoughts and ways of life,
Right.
but you can still also be a woman and have a career and have a job.
Absolutely.
And I think real estate is that for women because it gives the flexibility of a woman having a very respectful career, but also respecting, you know, her culture and whatever her restrictions are.
Exactly.
You know, and I have sort of along the way helped other girls and women study for the real estate exam.
Because it's not easy.
It's not easy, and
not
it's
easy to
definitely
do.
not easy for women who haven't studied for a long time or who haven't even had a job for a long time. Have
Right.
that lack of confidence. It's not enabling some really intelligent, smart women to come in and, you know, give the industry what it could need.
Right.
And I saw that gap, and I was like, I'm a natural mentor and I'm a natural coach.
Right.
So I used to mentor children from low income neighborhoods, and I used to teach them education
Oh,
and get them back into school. Kids who, you know, have come out of juvenile, getting them back into school. Anybody who's vulnerable, but it has the skill, has the intelligence,
Right.
you can change their life around.
100%.
Women and children are vulnerable in our society. And I think my real estate platform I will be using towards, you know, working on domestic violence, working on getting women, teaching them how to fish so they can fend for themselves for life. And I think real estate is a realistic industry for them to be able to come into where they
Yes.
don't need experience, they don't necessarily need a resume, but
Right.
we can build a program or something to get them to study, get their license and train them
Right.
and teach them a new way of life.
Yes.
And say, you can still have your family. We're not taking that away from you.
Exactly.
You know, and so I think Women's History Month for me is like super important because it's everything that I live for.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's awesome.
That's
That is.
very,
That's great.
like,
Because it's all true.
yeah.
You know,
Very
it really is.
inspiring, yeah.
If you think about it, I mean, you know, the stay-at-home moms that never had that job and, it's a great, thing that to get out there, and
Yeah,
you have the
it's-
flexibility of, you want to go show a house, you don't have to, there's so much flexibility.
And you make
in
a good
it.
living too. Like
You can.
make great money.
You absolutely can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but it is an adjustment. I mean, yeah. There's no transition. Like, there's no platform to transition into to kind of like what you're saying. When somebody comes off a different career or wherever, right? Like, and they get into the business. There's not that like like, actually, I feel like we have that a little bit on our end of with mortgages, where there is somewhat of a platform to be able to transition monetarily.
Yeah.
Right? Like, where on your side of the business, real estate agents, they don't, it's just you're in, and it's you're on your own basically, unless you tag along with someone else that's more often than not taking your money.
Yeah.
So there's like there's all these variables. I feel like
Yeah.
you kind of like you're going in already with so I feel like if you're seeing that, and if you're doing something about that, I think that's
Yeah.
amazing. I mean I don't have to say anything. I just feel like, of course, I support women. I think that, that we're equals, right? Everything. I grew up in a generation where, women are equal to everything, where they could be the breadwinner. They could do everything they wanted more.
Yeah.
I feel like
Absolutely.
we're kind of limited to the extent of like we can't do a lot of things you guys can do, basically, right?
We can multitask, basically. Is what
Well, I mean, we
saying.
can't.
So true.
We can't
I
have.
could do 10
we
things
can't-
at one time.
we can't. No, I meant more along the lines of we can't give birth. We can't do
Right.
things. Like, there's certain things you guys
Exactly,
can
yes.
do. We can't do a lot of
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Right. So you
Right.
guys are definitely emotionally equipped to deal with a lot of the things that happen in the business.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
feel like.
Absolutely, and I think, and that's why it's not to say that obviously men can't do the job, because they can. It's more the restrictions and the cultural restrictions that women have that are holding them back,
Right.
and that's kind of where I'm at with that. And it was just something that kind of fell in my lap when I got into real estate. I met women homeowners or people in the industry who didn't have a career or didn't know what to do with their life. And I was like, well, why don't you do real estate? Oh, no, that's too difficult for me. I could never do
right.
that.
Right.
No way.
Right.
I've never done anything like that in my life. Of course you can do it. Are you kidding me?
Well, unfortunately, that is a big mentality with especially kids today, with social media, everything is I can't. I mean, I've
Yeah.
heard kids saying that so much.
Yeah.
And
I know.
it's horrible.
Yeah.
It really is sad.
It
you
is.
know?
It
I mean,
is.
When somebody says I can't, it's like, yes, you can.
And that's a confidence issue. And
Yeah,
that's
it
another
is.
thing that we, I think is super important in any type of training for a job or for a career is confidence building, which comes within sales training.
Yes.
When you're doing sales training, it's based on old motivational theories. We look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We look at motivational theories, which go back centuries. We all know that motivation and morale in a workplace increases productivity.
Right.
So
Definitely.
that's the basis of everything. Is first and foremost, when somebody comes to me and says, I want to get a real estate license, how do I do it? The first thing I do is not get them to sign up to, do a
A real
class.
estate class, yeah.
It's to talk to them first about their confidence, about who they are, pull out their skills, pull out their talents. You're so smart with what you do with your children. Look at all those crafts that you do. That can be utilized in this industry.
Right.
Everything a mom or woman does at home
Yes.
or in her life, she can use.
Yes.
And they don't know, they don't realize that.
Right.
And all it takes is confidence. That's it.
True.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's all it takes. But for a lot of people, that's a big.
It's a big thing.
challenge.
It's a big
challenge.
challenge.
It is a big
Confidence,
challenge.
Yeah.
a lot of things. I feel
Yeah.
like just because I know for a lot of us, we got here for a reason somehow, right? For a reason, things that we did in the past, and I feel like that even if you teach someone, sometimes there's people that you could teach a lot of things and they'll learn it and so forth, but they may be lacking the confidence,
Yeah.
the will,
Yes.
the motivation,
Yeah.
things that are kind of like you should have learned
Things
at
you
home,
cannot teach.
right? Things they cannot teach, but you kind of learn them from feeling it from other people, from behavior that you see.
Yeah.
Like you may not. So if you maybe grew up in a place where like being a hard worker wasn't a thing, right? So maybe you don't pick up on that.
Right.
So,
Right.
but you were saying, everybody can do that, give them the right environment and the right support and the things that they lack.
Yeah, the tools.
The tools, yeah.
The tools, because, with that comes mental health.
Right.
And when you're talking about, confidence, it's not a little thing. It's not easy. You can't teach confidence.
No.
Somebody has to gain it, and it comes from the mind.
Right.
Yes.
And it comes from the heart. If their mind and heart is broken, not even, a mentor and coach, it takes a lot to get that. And having worked with some women and being by their side throughout the whole sort of studying the real estate exam, I did it with 2 girls. It was very, very, very draining, as it was rewarding, but it consumes a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say it's an easy job. It's something. I'm not paid to do it, but it's something that if I don't achieve something, I'm going to fail. Like, I don't fail. So educating these girls, and getting them to their goal. It was about seeing their confidence grow from minute one of opening that textbook,
Right.
where they were so, scared, and also scared of, the elements of their family. What are they going to say?
Yeah.
You're taking on so much from them. You're taking on their trauma, their past experiences, being
failures,
put
yeah.
down, their
Right.
failures, their negative points. And you've got to try and wipe that slate clean. And as they're progressing into the studying and into the exam, you see their confidence grow and
Right.
grow. And they're getting out the house
Right.
and they're picking up the kids from school. I've got to get on Quizlet. I've got to do my...
Yes,
and I'm
exactly.
like, wow,
I
that's
think it's
amazing.
a beautiful thing,
Yeah.
because I know I'm a realtor, and I know, I've been a realtor for 5 years. So, and my kids are older, but just my kids watching me, oh, mom's back in school, watching them, they would watch me study. That says a lot, that it shows your children you can keep going. It doesn't matter how old you are, you can constantly educate yourself.
Because I'm sure they look at us and they say, how do they keep working?
Yeah,
How do they keep going?
Exactly.
Studying again.
How do they get up every day?
You go to class again, Ma?
I'm tired.
I work, I
I'm
go
in my
home,
20s and I'm
I
tired.
cook, I clean, what I mean? And then
They look
go to school for 3 hours, I know.
Yeah.
And, it's amazing.
It's
When you
inspiring.
have children, it is, they do watch you. And I think it's a beautiful thing, especially if you have a girl. I mean, I have 2 boys, but, it just... them
It is.
even
And as
looking
a mom,
at it, and as a mom,
they
it's
kind of, for your
really
kids
cute.
to look up to you after
Yes.
all you've done is clean up their vomit
Right.
and diapers, and all of a sudden mom's studying and she's wearing a suit. And it's
Right.
like, to have your children look up to you.
Yes.
Right.
It's amazing, because
It is.
children naturally look up to their dads.
Right.
Because dad's always wearing a suit and going
Right,
out
yeah.
to
Right,
work.
they were
and-
going
and-
out there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's
Down.
normal.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right. So,
Yeah.
whereas mom's got food in her hair and,
Whereas
Right.
mom, no, she's a
Exactly.
caretaker. She's at home,
Yeah.
hanging out with me.
Right.
Whatever. Yeah.
Right.
True.
And
No,
True, but
I definitely,
It's a beautiful. It is a nice thing,
Yeah.
I mean,
Our
and-
mom.
Power
Power
mom.
mom, exactly. And I think
We
a
have
lot
power
of women.
dads too.
Yeah.
I can't leave the
course.
men out. Like
No.
they're,
yeah.
I think in this day and age, I see men and fathers really
too.
interact so much
much
more
more.
than what we were seeing 20,
Yes.
30 years
Yeah.
ago. They're working, they're grinding, they're,
They're going food shopping,
and they're going
cooking,
food shopping.
they're-
Yeah.
I see it.
Shopping.
So I
was
do. I have
speaking
to give
you the
credit.
other
I'm a
day.
food
We
shopper.
were both, I was in this, so funny.
When you're
He's
good at
like-
something, you're good at
Yeah.
something.
He's like, I'm in the supermarket. I'm like, I'm in the parking lot.
There's a lot of math involved in the supermarket.
Right? Especially the prices today of the
Yeah.
Oh
food.
yeah,
I know.
I'm crazy with the supermarket. I have to you know what it is? It's not even about paying a lot for something, because I'll buy something that's really good, right? That's high end and whatnot. But it's about the deal, the bargain. I
Right.
can't get taken. I just cannot get taken even at the supermarket.
No, I don't. One thing I learned when I came here was coupons. I am
Yeah.
a coupon girl. I'm
Oh, you
sorry.
do? Oh man, she.
I didn't
See,
know
I'm not a
about it. So I was
That's
paying
good.
these crazy prices and full prices
yeah,
for
it's
everything.
crazy.
And it, I was just like, oh my goodness, like the vegetable and the fruit, it's so expensive. And then I found the coupon leaflets.
See, I got it.
And I was like, oh my goodness.
See, I think where I go, they have them built into your card. So whatever
Okay.
coupons are available,
Yeah, but
you're always going to
you
get
can have
them.
additional.
You can have additional.
You can have
I didn't
additional.
know about
I
that.
don't use the additional, only like if my mother, she'll give me the
Yeah.
coupons, once in
Yeah.
a while. But like, I'll use coupons for other things, but not.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the
I'm not
ounces
really good.
and like, how much per
like,
ounce.
if I
and,
buy
like,
two,
any of those. Yeah.
Yeah.
that's time consuming.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Listen,
but I'm
Times are hard.
I'm good.
Times are
I'm
hard.
good. I'm like
Yeah.
I flow. They changed my supermarket around now. Everything's
now
everywhere.
you have to learn.
Everybody's like, and I feel
Yes.
bad because I feel like I'm good at adapting. But the older women,
I
like the
know.
ladies that come in,
And they
you hear them
dance.
all
It's true.
they move.
Yes.
They move the raviolis.
Yes.
And I'm like, how can I help her? I don't even know what the raviolis are.
No. It's so funny because the other day when I went food shopping also, I was getting back to my car and this woman, I felt so bad. She had cans, of soda and like 4 of them. And she was trying to put them. And I'm like, can I help you?
Oh.
And she's like, oh, I need a lot of help.
I don't even know. You can help me by yourself.
And then the daughter came walking around. She's like, oh my God. And I'm
just
like,
in
oh,
time.
okay,
Oh my goodness.
How old are your kids? You see?
They're 7 identical twins.
Oh,
Yeah.
lucky 7. Really?
They're both girls. Yeah, identical twins. They're
So
amazing.
cute.
Yeah.
Identical.
And I was done at 2. I was like, that's
Wow,
Yeah, that's perfect.
It's too expensive now. I can't. If I
really
was in the 80s, I probably would have had 6 kids. I
Right,
don't know.
yeah.
But now it's too expensive.
Yeah,
Can't
no.
afford
just
kids.
just buying them iPhones alone, they're gonna break the.
Yeah.
It's like insane.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, it cracked.
Because
I need
you got to
another
get them
one.
the new one every. They don't care. They need to have like the latest one.
I can't even get my head around it. I'm still at that point where I'm like, no, my kids aren't having phones. My kids aren't
right.
having.
Until
It'll
they
probably
get to the-
happen.
Yeah,
it
of
will,
course,
but
yeah.
I'm keeping them away as
Yes.
much as I can from the
You don't.
technology.
Yeah. You don't want to like keep it too much because then once they get it, they can
Right.
go crazy
They
with
go
it. They can
crazy.
end up in
Yeah.
like
They have a
different countries.
balance.
They can.
Yeah.
They can
Yeah.
like buy
It's
tickets.
tough.
I know, right?
I can travel with them.
I know.
Yeah.
The
They'll come
technology
back.
is crazy. I used to tutor children, like I said, and I tutored in particular English and English literature, and that worked very, very well for kids from sort of certain backgrounds and homes and juvenile, because with reading and English and poetry, it's no different to music. It's art. It's
Right.
writing and it's expressing yourself. So that's something that I find that children and at home, it should be implemented. Reading, writing stories, writing music,
Yes.
it's all lyrics. And if anything, children can resonate with songs.
Right.
So we can still bring that education in. And I think even if they're not doing anything else, reading and writing for kids, especially creative writing, that imagination, it's gone.
Really.
Children don't have an imagination.
You know what's
anymore.
wild? I
Yeah.
just got me. You just made me like, think about my because my older son. Like I always felt like he, he's into his video games. He's not really into sports, but he does a ton of that. Like beyond like a lot of imagination writing. Like
Nice.
it's just
That's awesome.
He's
Yeah.
constantly like, and I. Like he's getting older now, so like he's not as active with it. But he must have had like 1,000 characters.
Oh, wow.
Like a million little like
Yeah.
different little characters
Yeah.
and like books and pages of like
Wow.
like he'll make like a little like a comic book.
Right.
Right.
Keeps going, it keeps going.
Well, I was going to
Right.
say, I mean, even gamers, even kids who
goodness.
are gaming at one point, obviously there
doing
should be
that
a
as well.
balance, but
Right.
there is that imagination, creativity that
Right.
comes from gaming.
Yes. Because he's very into like the video games, but he's also really big into that and
The sort of storylines
yeah.
and characters.
Yes, yeah. He's not. You know what I realized? He's not really into like. I don't know if it's because we pushed him so much to be like, to be like to read and
Yeah.
study, like,
Yes.
and we read him books like till
Yeah.
no end.
Right.
I used to read him, just story after story, and I feel like he's not into like those video games with like guns and things like that.
Right.
You know?
Nice.
But I wonder if that had something to do with it, where he's more like into the character and the imagination aspect of it,
Yeah.
which is just as opposed to just plain mindless games. 'Cause,
Right.
some of the games are just mindless.
Of course,
or-
of course. And obviously violent games,
Violent.
statistically, we
Yeah,
know
forget
they
it,
do
yeah.
affect children.
Yes.
Right.
Because,
Yes,
you
we
know,
never.
up until the age of 16, children's brains are like sponges. They're
Right.
still growing
Yes.
and developing.
Yeah.
And anything, we say that things that happen at home are traumatizing, but video games, violence, violent movies, they are
Movies.
a matter of trauma.
Movies, yes.
Something as simple as just because if it's a game and they're shooting,
Right.
but it's still the ideology of someone shooting somebody.
Right. And hurting
Absolutely.
somebody.
A kid's brain
yes.
can take that in. The smallest trauma for that kid can then combine both of those elements and create a disaster.
It is, and it's insane because, when you think back when we were growing up, there's no way, even with all the violent movies that used to come out with Rocky and then, Rambo and the next one, there was no way we had the same amount of exposure on video games that they have in these games.
Night and day.
No.
It's crazy today.
I remember when I was in
is.
my, when did I was able to play those video games myself for the first time? I think I must have been in my 20s, and I remember out playing a few hours, and then my mind just being stuck in that
universe.
Yes, just constantly racing. And when I would go to bed, I would have a dream, instead of a dream being of the beautiful ocean or something like that, it'd be something related to violence.
Yeah.
And I was already an adult.
Yeah. No.
So the kids now.
Yeah,
if
they start
and
so young.
Yeah.
Yes, I feel good that I didn't let my kids do those games when they were younger.
I know.
Because I knew other kids, their friends and stuff
yeah.
that their parents would let them. And I would be like, what? That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, my son's older. He's 15 now. So.
Right.
But I'm thinking back, when that whole started when they were 7, 8.
Yeah.
My younger one's 12, but and still loves games to death.
Okay.
He worries me.
Okay.
But he's also musically inclined, so
That's
he
good.
plays the piano and all that stuff, and he sings.
good.
But thank goodness. But otherwise, he's still, it worries me. I'm glad you brought that up because
it's a balance. I think and it does come down to parents and parents understanding what gaming could do, and what education can do, and keeping a balance of everything. Everything should be kept in moderation.
Balance,
especially for children. All children need a balance. That nothing should be excessive, whether it's food or entertainment, studying. Nothing should be excessive for children. Having their brains, at a balance is very, very healthy for them.
the key.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's key. Yeah, definitely. And education from mom and dad, as simple as.
Yeah.
Just monitoring them and observing them all the time.
And I think that's a big part of it, because I speak to a lot of young parents now. Just I meet people randomly here and there, and none of them have read go and read a book about parenting. They just go right into it. They'll be because I remember I went to a barbecue, and I'm look, I'm looking at the baby, and I'm looking at the what's happening. I'm like, are you gonna feed him that hot dog?
Right.
Is it hot dog? You're not gonna cut it? No slice down the middle? No, I'll just cut it. I'm like, don't cut it. Don't cut it.
No.
Meanwhile,
Oh my God.
don't cut it. Because and that's what she was
Jamie's
gonna
like
do.
the hot dog police. No, don't cut it like that.
And I'm like, because you think about that stuff, and I'm like, that's just the basics.
Yeah.
Because
everybody parents so
the
different.
parenting,
and
the psychology
it's so different
is even a whole
today.
different world. The one thing
yeah.
is just feeding them I can't just don't give them a hot dog, when they're little, right? Or honey when they're born,
Right.
things like that. So I'm thinking to myself, and I ask people did you read anything at all before you became a parent? Did you think about it? Was it no? Nothing, zero.
I feel like the new parents are just learning things off TikTok and Pinterest.
Right. Yes.
We
Instagram.
didn't have those
scary.
guides.
No.
I think for us and by human nature, for a mother and a father, parenting should come organically without things like sort of the technology and the matrix media and and I think that's what's really kind of affecting the way younger generation are now parenting, is that they've got so much information that they're confused. Whereas you take all that away, let's take away all the technology, and you're a mother and a father, and you have a child. You organically, by human nature, you know what to do.
I mean, my kids are 22 and 23. I had nothing. I mean, I look at my sister showed us videos, of when the kids were little, her kids, and they are 10 months and on her phone. I'm like, I didn't have that. I mean, that's beautiful, you know.
Yeah.
Like I had to take out the big camcorder.
Yeah,
you know
like
what I
the
mean?
Polaroid.
The one on the shoulder.
Yeah,
Heavy one.
exactly. Yeah, my husband just goes, all right.
I know, right?
It was so annoying going
Yeah.
to like, you know, going away. He would have to
Right.
carry this.
That huge
Now,
camera.
it's like you just
I can totally see that. Yeah.
it's crazy. But you know, it's beautiful.
Poor guys.
Like there are so many things now that are great, but then other
There's
things
so many
are
things.
so bad.
And a lot of times, the parents, it's just that, you know, like you're saying before, like, if you know the kids, there's so much going on. The parents have to feel so many like different things for them to like be at par with what's happening. But even the parents, they miss, you know, their parents missed the boat or something.
Right.
They, you know, where they're like they're raising the kids based on just crazy stuff like
Yeah.
myth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like-
And I think
like
there's also a confused identity
science.
between this generation gap. I mean, we've suddenly moved so quickly from millennium to where we are now. It's like shifted to a different
Right.
universe.
It's like-
you know, the 80s and 90s were quite seamless and we were all still in the same kind of generation mentality. And then you came millennium, we were still a little bit there. Everybody, the three generations were still very similar. But now we've got this massive identity crisis of, you know, the Gen Z and, you know, the millennials and these parents, the new generation of parents coming in,
Yes.
who had old school parents, but are now living in technology and
goodness, yeah.
matrix, and they're confused. And with that confusion, they're creating monsters.
Yes.
Yeah, but how do you neutralize that? How do you like negate that? Is, you know, you have to read books. You have to like
How we
understand.
neutralize
Look
that,
at
it comes down to the
parents, really.
parents, and it comes down to our system. It's all the system. It's what the government are going to implement into schools. Our children
Yeah,
are
that's
in
a whole
schools
different-
up
yeah.
until the age of 18.
Right.
That's where their influence is going to come from a lot too. What are they implementing in schools?
yes.
They're implementing laptops and iPads
Oh yeah.
where children now are not writing.
Exactly.
There's no joined up
They're okay
handwriting.
with it, yeah.
No.
There's no, you know,
It's none of that.
The handwriting is terrible.
Horrible.
There's no
Yes.
reading exercises. And it's, you know, and I think a lot of it, yes, it comes from the home, but it should come from the school too.
Of course, that's
it's
where
just so
we're
random.
putting our kids.
Yeah, it's like
You know?
you hear some parents, oh, my kid gets too much homework, and other parents, my kid doesn't get enough homework. It's like,
Right.
I used to get a ton of homework.
Yeah.
You know, like,
True.
so like,
Yeah.
when did we never get like homework? What year ever when we went to school did we not get homework?
I'm pro homework because
But
because I think it's not about it being homework or, you know, it's a matter of discipline. It's getting the child ready
Right.
for the workplace. It's getting the child ready for discipline of, you know, getting into that when you're 18, life starts, your adulthood starts. What have they learned up till the age of 18? If they couldn't even have a disciplined routine of doing 30 minutes of homework every day,
And
how are they going to have any
that's the real learning, I think.
Yeah.
Where you learn the homework that you get, and again, it goes back to the parents. So that's the thing. It's like, but I think that's really the opportunity where you get with kids when you do the homework at home, right? Or whatever, like where outside of school, where you essentially can sit down, gauge them, teach them the way you teach. It's going to be a little different than one the teacher's probably going to do it. And it's not bad because I know they have all these different ways of doing math now.
Yeah, it's very different.
Very
I
different.
don't get it.
Yeah.
So different.
So, but at the same time, it's like the opportunity. That's like where the child, you know, the kid can go home and know that, you know, learning is not just at school. It's all the time, right? And then, I mean, I feel like they just need to make it more fun. I mean, I feel like when I used to get home when I was a kid, it used to be fun. My mom used to take me to a friend's house to do homework.
Yeah.
Like, we would do
Exactly.
homework with friends.
Yeah. We used to do group studies, study
Yeah, group
I
studies.
always
session.
had the kids' friends at my house.
Yeah.
I don't see that.
Yeah,
I know.
it's a shame, but you know, like book buddies.
Yeah.
We used to
my,
have.
you know, my parents were very, very big on studying. I mean, we had to study at least 2 hours after school every day, even
my
on the
parents were big on
weekend.
studying, yeah.
It was like I said, it comes down to discipline and etiquette.
Yeah.
And that's what you're teaching your children.
That's right.
It's not about torturing them. Guess
Right,
what?
it's not- yeah.
If they're on a game for 6 hours, you're torturing them.
Yes.
Right.
That's torture.
That is torture.
And that's traumatizing. For them to study and to read, and also the interaction with the parent and the dynamic that you have with your child when you're teaching them. A parent is a natural teacher. So why aren't parents being teachers anymore? You know, we're not teaching our children.
No, it's like we took
enough.
off that responsibility. It's not our responsibility anymore. There's teachers and it's
I
I think
like,
it's the work. I
Parents
think it's
that-
the work lifestyle too.
That-
I
yeah,
do
that's
too.
the one.
I
You
think
can't-
my
not every
parents
parent can-
also
yeah.
got lazy.
Yeah, but I mean,
You know,
also a lot of
that's
parents.
your biggest, thing for me as a mom.
Yeah, but you also have parents that they work 2 jobs.
I
and
get
you
it.
know everything,
But
but
you know
but
what?
there's no excuse for the ones
There's
that
no
really have the ability. Yeah.
And you know what? Even if you work 2 jobs, you have a child.
Yeah.
It's your responsibility
Yes.
to raise that child.
You find
the
a
right
way.
way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't have a child. Don't have kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
And unfortunately, you have to take that time. I mean, I was always a working mom. Mm-hmm. I always took care of my kids. They
Yeah.
came first.
I
That's
I
the way.
effectively, I think when I had my girls, even though I was a very, very career focused woman, I was the type of woman that people said she's never going to have kids because she's so career focused.
Wow.
But I did, and I love children. So when I had my kids, the only thing I did was I did my kind of mentoring and coaching children and tutoring children on the side because I couldn't leave that.
Right.
But other than that, I stayed home with my kids until they were 6.
Beautiful.
I needed to
Support.
work. I'm not going to, I'm not going to lie. I did need to work, and I could have, helped my husband a little bit more on the financial side. But for me, it was more important to get that foundation in for my kids.
Exactly.
Key
I
years.
struggled
Absolutely.
financially, but it didn't matter
Right.
because it's priceless.
Exactly.
Those first 6, 7 years
Yeah.
of your
That's
child's
right.
life is priceless.
I agree 1,000%. Yeah.
And that was me too.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
was
I did
home,
the same thing. Yeah.
and then I went
stayed-
part-time,
I should have
and
worked
then-
more.
I should have too.
I needed to be with my kids.
Yeah.
At that age, I feel like I had to be home all the time.
Yeah.
Nice.
Even when I shouldn't. Not taking off today.
It was so funny because my husband used to come home from work and he would go right in the kids' room.
Yeah,
and we
that's-
used to say all the time that when the kids got older, my husband was going to be lost because they really became his best friends. Like that was it. He would get home from work,
And that's
go
his life.
right
That
in
was his life.
and that was his life. And it's so true because when the kids hit like 11, 12,
Oh, God.
13, we
lived
all
it.
felt so bad for my husband.
Yeah, I lived it. I
We
lived
were
it.
like-
My kids, they're teenagers
Yeah.
now, and they're like, it's like
Yeah.
they don't even talk to you really. I mean, they're coming back. My older one's coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
a
what
little
happens.
bit.
really back in.
It does. That's
Yeah.
what happens.
They leave for a
Yeah.
little bit
Yeah,
and then
and
come
then-
running home
exactly.
back to mum and
Yeah.
dad.
So Maya, anything else you want to tell people about yourself that you want people to know about you? What your thoughts are about the future of real estate, the economy? What are some thoughts? A big question, but
Honestly, my
Have you
school of
noted-
thought is that even though I do watch market trends and I look at the economy, I don't really use that as a foundation as to where I'm going to go, whether I'm a consumer or whether I'm an agent or a client. I play it by my own needs at the time and my own wants, because guess what? Things like, sort of external factors, economical factors, political factors, we can never control that. We can't control COVID. We can't control Ukraine and Russia. But what we can control is our own needs and wants as an individual. Whatever the market is saying or wherever it's going, it's still going to be unpredictable because
Exactly.
and the universe can throw anything at us. I think the most important thing is to always just have a backup plan. Always have a contingency plan. So, if husband and wife are both working and in employment, or they're both doctors, investing in property for anybody, I think is the way to go.
Yes.
Property and gold is something that my parents had always taught us to. Those are the two assets that appreciate in value. No matter what happens to the economy, whether the market's crashing or not, property and gold are always two assets that we want to invest in, no matter what your background. And I would say to homeowners that don't be scared. Don't be scared of, coming into the world of property.
Right.
Open up your laptops, open up your books and look into it. Call someone and talk about it.
Yes.
You can call realtors, you can call loan officers, you can just talk to them, and we're all here to educate and teach you. And although, it's a sales driven industry,
Yes.
me personally, I'm not sort of, if somebody wants to come and talk to me and just know something, and I do get a lot of phone calls from consumers calling me just for advice, I'm more than happy to give it without pushing on, if they're not ready financially, mentally, emotionally, I'm always here to guide them all the way through to a year, 2 years, 3 years, whenever they're ready to come and, start a new investment, start a new business, let's do it. And I will be there to grow your business.
It should be like, well, Maya, it should be Maya, the real estate psychologist, or Maya, the real estate shrink. How should we? Or counselor. What's
I wear multiple hats, but
Well,
Maya, the coach, the realtor coach, I guess.
The realtor coach.
Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, you do definitely, see things differently than most of our guests, and your approach. And it's very cool. Actually, I find it very honorable.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Honestly,
definitely.
I think it just comes down to my motto is that I'm not monetary driven.
Exactly.
I'm not, I make money just to have my girls be comfortable. Other than that, everything I do in life is to gain a reward. That's my goal. Is at the end of it, I need the reward of a consumer or a friend or a woman or a mom reaching something and having satisfaction. It's like the biggest reward ever. It's priceless.
Exactly. I like that because that's so much me.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. We should do something.
Yeah.
Let's do something.
Definitely. Yes, definitely. Because it's so true.
Yeah.
I help everybody, right? I mean,
And just having that mindset, you know what? I've found that, having that mindset, you do get back tenfold.
Right.
Organically.
That's right.
You don't have to try.
Yeah.
You help people, and somewhere or at some point,
it's gonna come back.
something that always comes back to you. And if it doesn't matter. I still gave something.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Nobody gets poor by giving everything away. That's another saying.
Yeah. There you go. I like his little.
Oh yes.
Throws in those
You can never be poor. You really can't.
the Jamieisms.
Yes. There we go. I like that.
Well, thank you, Maya, for joining
thank
us
you so
today.
much.
This is
Yeah.
really rewarding.
Thank you. Thank you.
Podcast.
Yes, definitely.
That's definitely the I guess the title for this one. Very rewarding podcast. I really your background definitely I feel is gonna give you a leg up, like in this market. Because a lot of people don't see things the way you see them. They I think it's just in general, like regardless that they're more driven for money and all these other things that, we all have to make money. That's the goal, right? We have to, we want to be well off. But yeah, at the same time, there's different ways to get there. And I think your way, your path is a beautiful way.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Thank you for coming.
And if you ever have any questions, we are available at any time.
Of course. I'll be back here again.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes. We going to talk about mortgages and more real estate and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it
we
was
have
good.
a lot
I want
more to talk about.
I want to get to know you and see, and get you out there.
Yeah.
We're gonna be posting. So, I want to say thank you everyone for joining us
thank
today
you. Thank
for
you, everyone.
another episode of the.
Maya. It was great
You're
meeting
welcome.
you, and it was definitely nice.
You're welcome.
Actually,
Thank
Maya,
you.
can you put out your phone number and your Instagram just to.
Yeah,
Close it
so it's Maya Shah, and my phone number is 631-800-9897, and you can find me on Instagram. It's mayashah.kw.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for
Great.
joining us.
Thank you.
Take care.